Welcome to another episode of Poker Time. We have something special for you this time. It's the final table, the final six of the Wild West Poker Tour main event in Portland. $400 buy-in, 260 some odd entries. First place over 20,000. We got 6 players left.
And that's why you don't recognize the players. It's a tournament. They had to get here. They weren't invited to play a cash game, and those are tournament chips in front of them, not cash game chips, of course. There's Kyle folding a nice hand under the gun.
But there's a player you do recognize, Wonka.
Wonka made it all the way here through the field. An uncommon way to get on Poker Time, but it is Wonka.
Yep. Let's go to the Jack 10 and the cutoff.
There is a correction already. There's Diem Five, by the way, who
has
been on Poker Time as well. This is Ben. Ben looks like Ben looks, and he is a very fun guy.
Indeed. Very chatty player.
Is it? I guess it is.
And the correction here is that the blinds are actually 50K for the big blind. We have it as 40K.
Yep. Here's the prize.
What is everybody's
So you see
name?
there's so much to win still.
Right. Current payout, just over 5,000. You could win 4 times that much if you win the thing.
$15,000 if you can just get through 5 more players. You've gotten through 255 so far.
And there you see the chip counts. Although it says 40K, it is 50K, so DM5 is even shorter than 7 big blinds.
Yep, he's got 6 blinds. But you also see no one has a huge amount of chips here.
Right, there's kind of a clustering of players here. There's no massive chip leader.
Yeah, the drinks are just getting to be fancier and fancier right now, that's all.
Sorry about it. No worries.
There's Shaun. Shaun with a S-H-A-W-N instead of S-E-A-N.
Or S-H-A-U-N.
Or S-A-N.
Yes, or S-A-N.
Good luck.
DM5 moves in.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Sure, with 6 blinds, totally reasonable.
Second player, all in.
And it looks like Emerald Jeremy has moved in behind him. That is bad news.
Very bad news.
The worst news, pretty much.
He's got the old ace-jack, which is the last hand, one of the last hands.
I mean, Jack's worse. Ace-jack of spades is worse. I guess
you can't have ace-jack of spades.
The ace of spades would be a little worse. But yeah, you're right. And that's even worse still.
It's gonna take a miracle.
It's gonna need some straights or running eights.
It's all over.
And yeah, it's
unless
done.
another
ace
of diamonds. Yeah.
And just like that, DM5 gone. Emerald Jeremy picks up some chips. DM5 out in 5th. There you see. He's got $5,000 coming to him. Not bad. Everyone else ladders up for $1,000. Pretty good.
Pretty good. Yes.
It's real huge cashes.
Now you should change
In and of himself.
You should change it to 12. Yeah, we're up. Yeah.
Jeremy mumbling something to himself about the prize structure, it seems.
Prize pool, yeah. Well, he's just taking a look. Now he realizes there's still so much. There's still $14,000 to win. 6K is nice to have locked up, but 14K ain't nothing.
This is why short-handed tournament play, being reasonably good at it, is very important.
Yeah.
Because if you get yourself in this spot, which might be rare, but if you get yourself in this spot, that's where all the money is, and you need to be able to handle it.
Yeah.
Fold.
This is definitely going to be an open for Ben.
I cannot help but speak the truth.
Raise.
Ben choosing to go with all of the small denomination chips for his raise. Do you well, there's Jack 10 suited for Jeremy. He just folds it.
Yep.
Do you think there's a tactic or strategy with using all small denomination chips to make the raise look more intimidating?
I don't know. I know that Mike Carroll way back in the day used to say that when people would use smaller chips, that's because they weren't as excited about their hand, because they're more willing to sort of like give them away and stuff. Is any of that true for Ben? No idea. He's an experienced player. Also experienced at getting people to draw on his skin.
Yes.
A lot of experience in a bunch of ways. So I don't know if it means anything, him going out with this small denomination.
I feel like in my tournament experience in general, I find that people want folds more when they do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people just have this weird kind of OCD thing where they want to use up all their small chips before they use their big chips. But for some people, it's like trying to be more intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
Like betting 20,000 with 1Ks instead of 5Ks.
Yeah.
Good to know. That's not great. That's fine.
And King Jack's not exactly a bad hand, but he'd
No.
prefer not to get action.
Well, he certainly doesn't want anyone to raise.
And getting action isn't great anyway. I mean, like, you'd rather just take down these massively important pre-flop pots at this point. I mean, the biggest stack is like 32 blinds.
If that. I don't think anyone has even over
Yeah,
30
Ben
blinds.
Ben had 1.6 to start, so
That's less. Oh, no, yeah, because right. Yeah, you're right. 32 blinds. You're right. I knew we had the blinds wrong. Here's Shaun now. Okay, he's got. This is an interesting spot. He's got what, 18 and change.
he
blinds?
could just go all
I
in
think
here.
it's an easy ship, honestly. He's going to do a normal raise.
145.
He puts himself in a little bit of jeopardy here where he may have to play this post flop, which is tough out of position.
And Wonka's got a hand that he might actually shove here.
Yep, and that would be a problem also, I think, with ace-3 off.
You don't love the situation with ace-3 off.
It plays way better just as a shove or a limpery raise all in, I think. But we'll see.
Email somebody that I made 5,000. I'm cashing 46. I'm not cashing 46.
It's not like Wonka has a good hand.
Yeah, I know. I just
But he has a king blocker, and it's blind versus blind.
Yep.
a spot ago.
It's really looking at Shaun.
Okay, if it's a trap, I'm falling for it.
Cool.
All in.
All in.
And now Sean's in a spot.
I don't see him calling here. And this is why the normal raise size is really
I
problematic.
think against
this hand.
Wonka, if you knew Wonka at all, it's probably correct to call here. But it does suck to call off with ace-3.
Yeah, I mean, you're almost never. I mean, you can't really be far ahead of anything. Well, Wonka has to have king 3 for you to be far ahead, or another 3 in his hand. It's hard to do. Turns out he can have that, but he can have almost everything else. You just don't have a lot of equity against, as you see. Not great equity.
I mean,
anyway.
it's equity that you should be calling.
Sure.
if you have
he
61%.
if he knew he had king 4, he would call for sure. But he's dominated a lot, and almost everything else is a flip.
And at this stage of the tournament with these stack depths, that's a nice little chip up for Wonka.
Yeah, absolutely. When they raise fold, Wonka could have just been in huge trouble there, but Shaun had a weak enough ace.
It really sucks when you're Wonka and you do that, and they're like, I guess I call with king queen,
Yes, it really does suck.
and you're just like, why can't you have ace jack? You jerk.
I think Wonka thought because Shaun didn't shove there, that meant Shaun was polarized more so than normal to either very, very strong hands or hands he was definitely folding.
And there's just not that many very, very strong hands.
Yeah, and he's got a king in his hand,
Yeah.
so it makes it a little easier.
140.
Raise.
Jeremy opening it up with 140 here with the ace-7 off under the gun. We are 5-handed.
Jeremy came all the way from Amarillo to play this tournament.
I mean, according to his name, that is correct. Wonka with the queen jack off in the small blind. It's not the best spot in the world with
30
these stack
blinds.
depths. Well, yeah, less because Emerald Jeremy is the effective stack.
Yep.
Ben, of course, can't fold out of the big blind with king jack suited.
Very pretty hand.
Heads up.
Pretty nothing flop here. I mean, there's back doors for both players, but neither of them are exciting.
Definitely not.
I think Jeremy should bet to protect his equity.
I think he usually,
Bet 150.
and he does bet. I like that.
I do too.
And look at
ooh,
this.
Ben is not folding, and he's not raising. I guess he's got designs.
I guess he's hoping Jeremy's going to check the turn a lot, and then he can just bet the river and win, or also improve, of course.
Maybe he could hit a jack, you know?
Yep.
That is
That's
not a jack. That
worst
is
case scenario.
going to make it really hard for Ben to win.
Yep.
But it looks like Ben is leading.
This is very strange. He's repping a 4, I guess?
I guess he was going to do his plan no matter what.
Yeah.
Bet
How much?
240.
Ah, fuck me.
I'll show you this one either way.
Huh. I'll show you this one either way. Ben trying to manipulate Jeremy into a fold, obviously. Interesting thing to say. That's meant to represent strength, obviously.
Yep.
Fold.
And
And it works.
Gets the fold and shows him the king jack as promised.
He did not lie. So it's not really that much of a dick move to show him if you told him you were going to show him, right?
He promised he would show him. It would have been a dick move not to show him. But now it hurts.
Now it feels like a dick move.
Jeremy, there's the face of dissatisfaction right there.
But that's been Jeremy's face for the whole 8 minutes we've been doing this final table, right? And Ben feeling good.
That was a nice little pot to pick up.
I am surprised it worked.
Me
That
too.
said, Jeremy turning the ace and deciding to fold. I guess he just feared for his tournament life. Perhaps
I think so. I mean, he, in theory, can only beat bluffs, right? I mean,
Perhaps Ben picked up on Jeremy mumbling to himself about the prize pool and thought, this guy doesn't want to commit his tournament life, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm threatening on the river,
I
basically.
mean, that makes sense as much as anything else. Or maybe Ben just had his plan and was going with it no matter what came, and he's like, well, now he's going to fold 2 10s sometimes, I guess, if I bet.
And we see that Ben's aggressive play has earned him 500,000 chips already.
You remind me a lot of my pastor growing up.
So you want me to molest you?
Well, yeah, just in that I assume you're like, going to do something awful.
Yes, I probably will.
All right.
I'm going to stay out of that one
Gonna
completely.
leave that one.
I still criticize.
The players were warned that all things they say might end up on YouTube.
Wonka just folds the queen 5 suited. Somehow he knows that Ben has ace jack. Maybe he was looking at him. Maybe he picked up something.
Oh,
I'm all in.
All in.
Insta call by Ben.
Please let me hold up.
Oh, big hands, big hands. Good luck.
this is a classic blind versus blind cooler at these stacked ups.
Oh, yeah. There's no getting away from any of this.
It's true. Good luck.
No, we don't have to, but I really
Suits
wanna
and
win.
everything.
A few chop outs now for Ben. Any 9?
It's a pretty good flop for Ben.
Any 9, any 3, any jack?
Misses them all. Big double up for Jeremy.
And Ben's living the high highs and the low lows so far.
Ben's going to drop down to 20 blinds. Jeremy's all the way up to 40 blinds. That's a lot at this stage of the tournament. He's the clear chip leader.
960.
Ben's been doing everything right, but he just ran into it there.
Jeremy shaking out the demons.
That move, King Jack. I'm like, okay, he's gonna shove on me regardless if I raise him here. Oh well.
Correct answer.
Very nice hand.
It's almost as nice.
I'm not sure if Ben's right about that, considering Jeremy did have ace queen.
Yeah.
Everything else to go to first. But they didn't take it, so.
Wonka's saying that they were talking about a deal
Really bad at negotiating deals.
before this finals table
I
started.
think that's probably why.
And
he asked
Wonka
for-
said no.
Yeah.
He basically said no.
He asked for a lot, and they all just told him to screw off.
And if you heard what Wonka just said, he said, I'm actually really bad at negotiating deals, which is why we're going to keep playing, which is just kind of an excuse to be like, I don't really want to do a deal,
Yeah.
so...
I think Wonka, if I'm guessing, probably thinks he's got a significant edge at the table in terms of the poker,
For sure he thinks that.
as he should.
Uh-huh.
That's reasonable. And I can understand why he wouldn't want to do a deal.
Oh, and here's Shaun with 15 blinds and ace 10. He could just shove here.
It's totally reasonable 5-handed. It's also reasonable just to open.
I think if he thinks the other players are better than him, he should shove. If he thinks he has an edge, he should open.
That seems reasonable. He is going to open, so he's declaring where he stands in the hierarchy.
Number 1, baby.
Can't stream the ocean,
Raise.
Jeremy. The stream is too small.
140. Fold. Fold.
Sounds like Wonka's talking to Jeremy over there. If you remember Jeremy from our poker times.
There he
oh,
is.
there
You
he
can
is
see
in the
him.
back. Looking all serial killery.
Much less serial killer than normal.
But wait till you see what he does.
And everyone gets out of the way. Shaun gets to win. Nice little chip up.
We haven't seen anything from Kyle for these first 15
No.
minutes.
He hasn't really had much, though.
No. He had 8-9 suited under the gun the very first hand, but it's fine to fold that 6-handed if you really don't feel like playing it.
Especially when everyone's short-ish. And
Yeah.
Diem 5 had a 6-blind
Hey, you got it
stack.
right,
I know
Diem
it's a
5.
miracle. 6-blind stack for Diem 5 also is a really good reason to not play it. Where, like, if you get in and lose to a 6-blind stack, it actually really hurts you because you have 16 blinds yourself, you know. Here's Wonka with a whole lot of nothing there under the gun.
Ooh, Ben's got a hand. Maybe it's time to double right back up.
Raise.
This time he doesn't use the small denomination chips only. Of course,
That's
he has
interesting.
He has a lot less of
That's
them.
true. He paid off a lot of them to Jeremy. Oh, who has 4s?
Uh-oh.
This should be a double up for Ben.
About a million.
20
Great
blinds,
spot.
button to cut off. Seems like a pretty clear, I'm going to give this guy a million chips spot for Jeremy.
Hard to argue. Ben's been the most aggressive player. Of course, should be doing just fine against Ben's range.
I mean, Ben should be folding a lot, basically, if
Yeah.
Jeremy effectively moves in. But
Yeah.
he lets it go.
Wow, how does he know?
That is a bad beat for Ben.
But
And
wait,
now,
but wait.
he might get it anyway from Shaun. Now,
Shaun
Shaun could just call because he's in the big blind, but he has an ace blocker. It seems like a good hand to shove.
It's a pretty reasonable shove spot, but it is okay to call. I think I prefer a shove, though.
If Shaun were on the button, I think it's a clear shove. But when you're in the big blind, already have 50 invested, I think it's okay to call.
I think if Ben were on the button, it's also a clear shove. If either one of these guys.
Yeah.
But even now, I think it's a pretty reasonable shove.
Don't do it.
Folding's the only thing you can't do.
Your Ben saying don't do it. Of course, he would love him to do it.
You have 700 behind,
5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
900 behind.
and 50. Yeah.
Just call.
Call.
He says just call.
It's always weird to me when people say just call.
Yep.
Heads up.
Well, Shaun's going to need some help right away. That does not qualify.
Well, he's got a backdoor club draw.
Yep.
It's not super helpful when you have a 2-to-1 stack to pot ratio.
Ben looks like he's going to bet. I think he could check here also.
He could, but this is a board you could just kind of go with, and it kind of sucks because the queens are paired, but it's not the end of the world.
I don't think you can fold. This hand's just too good when you're five-handed.
Unless you really know
Whoa,
something.
whoa.
Ooh, is Shaun going to make a move?
Whoa. Would it work?
No.
I don't think it would, but whoa, maybe.
Oh, he's cutting out a call. I don't think you can call with this stack size here.
I mean, if you call, you're going to have to make a play on the river and hope it works. I don't think it would against Ben.
Or call off the turn because you think you're ahead. Like, if you call, obviously, it's because you think you're ahead. If you're Shaun.
I mean, if
You disagree?
I don't know.
If you called, it would be because you thought you were ahead. Come on, for sure, right?
I mean, you could be calling to make a play later. That's what Ben did with King Jack, right? Same kind of spot.
Yeah, but ace high in this board, you could be ahead of the cutoff opening
You could, but if you
range.
thought you were ahead, why didn't you just shove pre?
It's a good fold. I don't know what I was going to do if you shoved.
See, he said he didn't know what he would do. That doesn't mean it's true. But I kind of believe him.
You do and actually get kings? That's not fair.
Weird.
So, how many?
Every time I've had a big pair, though, it seems like the board has paired queens today. Except for when I had queens. Then it just came ace-king.
That's a cool story.
Ben's
Sad
complaining
story.
about his luck apparently in this tournament.
Yeah, where he has all the chips
He's
coming
probably,
into the final
he's
table.
Like, he's like probably second in chips right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's reasonable, but okay, you know. We're poker players. This is what we do. Even when we're
some
winning,
of
we're
us.
complaining.
Some of us.
Fold. Fold. Fold.
Don't see Kyle opening this on the button.
Still hasn't played a hand, but hasn't really had anything. And Shaun with nothing either.
Looks like a Wonka for Wonka. Am I right?
That's pretty clever.
How clever.
Look, Wonka
Oh.
had ace 10.
He did not. He did not want to Wonka.
I think my highest card was a 4.
Now see, if you're lying, the people are going to know.
Let's see.
Oh, luckily not too many people.
Hey.
Oh.
Hey.
That was rude.
That was Ben taking a shot at the poker
The
guys.
old poker guys over here. Yeah,
I'm taking a shot at the channel and the viewership.
that's okay.
That's mean.
We'll just.
Well, I hope-
It gives us license to take a few more shots at Ben.
Exactly.
They were-
Exactly. It works for me.
It actually is. It's a plus.
Amarillo Jeremy, ace 10.
Could absolutely open this here.
I would fully expect him to. He's the chip leader. They're five-handed. It's ace 10. It'd be crazy not to.
I've seen crazier things at final tables, especially. People play hyper conservative, even in much smaller final tables than this.
No question.
But not
Whoa.
Jeremy.
Kyle just folds the pocket threes.
Oh, yeah.
Not insane.
It's not insane, but
It's reasonable.
I think I saw an ace
I
king
think I
pop
did.
up
There
there.
it
and
is.
Ben. So I don't think Jeremy's going to double him up pre. I think he's going to
No way.
fold.
No way is he going to double him up.
But it looks like Ben is just going for the call here.
Interesting. Ben is protecting his tournament life a little bit. Maybe this is why no one watches Ben.
And it's not a reasonable argument here, but he's also protecting his big blind calling range.
Yeah, of course he is. A little bit. It's certainly deceptive to do this.
It's not a good flop for ace king.
No.
And Jeremy flops a gut shot, but just checks it right
Ooh,
back.
could have bet that, but okay.
All right, well, let's see what happens. Deuce on the
Total
turn.
brick. Ben
When-
checks again. Jeremy checks it instantly.
I think
back.
Jeremy should be considering betting at least.
Me too.
I mean, ace 10 could be ahead, but
I mean, it's often ahead, but it's often behind.
You win.
Ace king.
Jeez.
That's him.
well, that could have been a lot more chips for Ben if an ace flopped, or
Yeah.
if he had 3-bet to an amount that Jeremy felt like he could call.
Yeah, I don't know if there would be.
I don't know if
Ben
there is an
only had
amount.
22 blinds.
I don't know if there is
that-
an amount. Yeah,
But certainly if an ace flop, that could have been. Probably Ben gets the double.
probably.
25.50, please. 25.50.
As you hear our dealer Sam announcing still 25.50.
Taking a look at that beautiful nitrogen sports felt.
Notable.
It's made of the finest cashmere. In fact, it's not good for poker, but it is high quality for touching.
Yeah, and that's all anyone really cares about. Well, here's Kyle under the gun with ace deuce off.
Can't imagine him playing
Hasn't
this.
Played a hand yet.
Microphone check.
He looks like he's. Well, he hasn't thrown it away yet. And
And
now he's reaching.
He's going to open ace deuce off under the gun after playing pretty conservative. That's kind of weird.
Surprising for sure.
Yeah. I guess he's trying to capitalize on his image and his ace blocker.
Maybe it's also just feels like it's been too long since he's played a hand and he wants to play one.
Well, that's not a good reason.
But certainly people do that.
Ben folds ace 4. Jeremy should not fold king jack.
Feels like a super easy call.
But I want to be clear. That's a really bad reason to play a hand because you haven't played for a while. You said it like it was a legitimate reason. I just want to make it clear that it's not.
Fair enough.
Heads up.
Kyle with the 4% equity edge here.
It's changed a little bit.
Always does.
Check.
Almost always.
Jared, it looks like this is
It
more.
says check, check, but it's not a check.
No, it's not. Kyle's going to bet. That's more Jeremy's flop than Kyle's by a pretty wide margin, but Kyle just felt like the pot was valuable enough to take a shot at it, I suppose.
Indeed it was. Also, considering this is the first hand he's played at the final table.
Just over 14K in the pot. The turn is the 4 of diamonds.
Hey, what is that? Speaking of turn, coming around the mountain? Is
Oh.
that the Nitrogen Sports Poker train?
I think they did buy a train recently.
If you listen, you can hear its very familiar jingle. And choo-choo. Wait, there's the jingle. Nitro, nitro, nitro. Nitro, nitro, nitro.
Wow, that's the weirdest ad ever all of a sudden. Anyway, Nitrogen Sports Poker Room is, they let us do ads like this.
They
Perhaps
do.
because they don't listen to them.
Free reign, baby. Nitro, nitro, nitro. Nitro, nitro, nitro.
Ding, 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 ding.
The day that ad gets old, I'm old.
Well, it might have come. Anyway, we can see that the blinds are up now. 30K, 60K after the players were on a brief break.
And you see how it says Shaun has 19 blinds and 1.2 million. That's because he's a little less than 1.2 million, and the software's rounding up. So it's because he doesn't have a full 20 blinds. It's calling it 19. But no one has 30 blinds even, so everything is pretty tightly packed in.
I mean, this is a very tight field right now.
There's so much money left to win, too. It's kind of nuts. It's a $14,000 difference here.
Yeah, I mean, that's some serious money. This is a one-day tournament, so, it's a pretty good day, taking 400 and turning it into 20K.
Yep.
Speaking of which, the players are probably pretty tired.
It's late.
Tournament started at noon. It's about 1:30 at the time of this filming.
Yep.
AM, of course, the next day. not an hour and a half later.
It was a turbo.
Yeah. Not much you can do with this hand, Shaun. Gonna let it go.
Here's Ben with the horrific 8-3 off.
It looks like he's gonna open. I think Ben must consider that the blinds are just not going to defend very often. Jeremy and Kyle have been relatively passive. Maybe that hand against Jeremy where Jeremy just checked it down without thinking about it made Ben think that Jeremy's not going to make many moves. Kyle's only played one hand.
Sure.
So he might feel like these guys he can open 100% of buttons against, and I kind of agree.
I do too. Also, it's a little bit more worthwhile to steal now that we're in big blind ante land instead of the old days when everyone would just ante up. So the full blind ante at a 5-handed table is worth so much more.
When you get short-handed, it becomes a lot more valuable to steal.
Yep. And Ben seems to know that.
Either that or he's always been doing that for many years.
Well, that works too. That said, it's got to feel good to open 8-3 off and just take it down.
And take down what is now an important pot. Every
Sure.
every pot is important at this point.
It's
with
2.5
these decks.
blinds every time you take it down. It's more than 10% of almost everyone's stack. Wonka really hasn't had much to play with yet. Some ugly hands.
Well, Kyle can probably just shove with the ace in the small blind here.
He's got 20 blinds. I think Shaun's a little bit shorter.
I think Shaun
All
has
in.
something like 18 blinds, yeah.
There's the all-in, and this is an easy fold.
Show me one.
Now, he's not actually kidding.
You're allowed.
You're allowed to show one or both cards in the Wild West Poker Tour and say whatever you want to say. So if Kyle were to show a 6, if Shaun was feeling very gambly, he could call.
That would be feeling really gambly.
That would be pretty darn gambly. I wouldn't expect him to, and he does not.
And it looks like that's an ace that Kyle is showing after the hand.
He does show one, but he waits till the hand's over, which is, a reasonable decision.
It's a much better idea.
I can't imagine really calling with that.
I just wanted to see if he'd show me a card.
If I shove, you gotta have an ace.
What card would make you want to call?
A 7.
Depends on where my hand is.
Well, with your
Ow.
A 7 would definitely be a consideration card.
okay.
I think Wonka has a pretty reasonable point there. Like, sure, if you are shown an undercard to the Jack-8, that's the only way that card could make you want to call, but still, it shouldn't really make you want to call, right?
For sure, it should not. You're praying you're in a coin flip spot. I mean, you kind of always are, I guess, if he shows you a 6. But, I mean, he's not going to show you a 6 if he has 7-6, right? He's going to show you a 6 if he has 6-6 or Ace-6.
And you have a stack that can generate fold equity in the future. Why would you take a spot where you're like 45% or like at best?
If Shaun wanted to call off in a spot, he would have called off with the Ace-3, right?
Right. Here we have Ben opening the Queen Jack. Reasonable hand for sure.
Shaun's giving a real think here, but I'm not sure.
I think he just takes a little time.
Yeah.
And Wonka with Jack-5 suited in the big blind. This is a pretty clear defend when you're deeper. These stacked ups, it gets a little hairy, but you could still call.
I think it's a defend. I mean, look at the price he's getting.
It is a very good price, especially when you consider the whole big blind ante thing.
It's like almost 3.5 to 1. I don't see how you turn it down, closing the action with a suited Jack. Turns out he's in a lot of trouble, but actually, even the price he's getting and his equity, he's still doing fine. That said, he's going to have to hope for, something pretty good here.
Like a 5.
5 would be good. Clubs would be nice.
Yeah.
Even a flush draw might be enough to win this pot, but he's going to need something, probably. Well, that's nothing.
Nothing for either player. Wonka has more deuces in his range, but overall, Ben's range is better on this board. He has more overpairs.
Ben
But
just
checks it right back. It's a dry enough board. I think you could take a shot there.
Yep. But he decides not to.
Oh, that is a disaster for Wonka.
Devastating card. He's going to have to lose some chips now. He might just decide to bet this himself.
I don't hate a check. Ben's going to feel obligated to bet with a lot of his hands when check 2 twice on this board. As we see, he has Wonka, but he doesn't have to, obviously. If he had something like 8-9, which I guess he might have checked back because he checked back Queen Jack, he might feel like he's got a bet here.
That's a fair point. Wonka is going to... Looks like going to... I assume he's going to bluff, catch, and not raise here.
I
with
can't
top pair.
imagine a raise. Why would he raise?
The only really good reason to take the valuable pot and shut out the equity. There is $500,000 in there, but it doesn't really make sense.
I guess you block jacks, so it's less likely you're behind, but still.
I mean, you're only be raising to take it down, right? You wouldn't be raising for value at all.
Yeah, I think you're calling most river cards, too, if you're Wonka here.
Fair amount.
This one could get pretty painful, depending on what Ben decides to bet.
Yep.
If he decides to bet.
Thank you for sharing.
Well, let's see what the river brings. Well, that is a really bad card for Wonka. Ben
Very-
probably will bet the river.
Very innocuous card, yeah.
I don't see how you don't bet it if you're Ben.
I think Ben needs to bet small to try to get called by Wonka's threes.
Yeah. Or worse, jacks.
Yeah, I mean, worst jacks probably call a little bigger, but I want to keep threes around. 'Cause
That's fine.
We block jacks.
Also pocket fives.
Hands like that. I think Wonka might have just shipped those hands.
Whoa, and Ben just checks.
Wow.
Jackson deuces with queen.
I guess he thought he couldn't get value from too many worse hands.
Well, that was a hand he probably could have gotten value from.
Probably
I don't
could
see-
have gotten, at least if he bet like 250, probably could have gotten called.
I think Wonka has to call for 250, even maybe a little more. Having all those tattoos, or that one really large tattoo, I'm not sure if it's many or one, I think probably earns Ben a few extra calls
Yeah, you
in
would think
spots
so.
when he sizes it up. So,
That is certainly a loose image right there.
yep. Hard to argue.
And he's kind of lived up to it, at least with his pre-flop stuff. He hasn't been super crazy post-flop or
Well,
anything, except
that-
for the King Jack,
yeah,
I guess.
And
So
he showed it too.
I guess he's lived up to it a little bit.
I think so. There's Amarillo, Jeremy.
Yep, there he is. Thanks for pointing that out.
Fold.
Cal has a reasonable hand here. He could open this. He's in the cutoff.
I
I
probably-
think this is an open.
I probably wouldn't open it here
No?
with Shaun short behind you.
Well, look, he has 10-4. So now
Well,
how
I
do you
guess
feel about that?
I feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Once again, you've been proven wrong.
It happens twice a minute. This is probably a limp for Wonka, would be my guess.
Call.
That is a pretty good hand here.
You could check and just see the flop,
Yeah.
or you could raise. Both are fine. It just sucks to get blown off this hand if you raise.
It does. But this is one of the benefits of being the chip leader now, too. You can be a little more loose with your chips. And there he goes.
Well, I don't think Wonka can call with this hand, but
No.
I'm guessing based on what Wonka has seen from Ben so far, his plan against Ben, small to big, is to limp like 100% of the hands he's going to play and have a decent amount of 3-bets in there.
Yeah, I think
3-bet shoves.
I think that's exactly right. And this is just not one of them. But I think he does have a lot. And that would have worked that time.
Yeah. Probably. We don't know for sure.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's very likely to have worked.
It would have worked. It's so weird how you can play a tournament in one day. You've locked up 6,000, but you can win 14 more thousand if you just like last another 40 minutes.
Yeah, I
you
know.
You play for hours and hours and hours, and then all of it comes down to this.
That's
bit
why I was
here.
saying it's important to know how to play short-handed.
Yeah.
Even if it only accounts for 2% of your total playing of poker, it accounts for a ton of the equity you have.
Yeah, ton of the value for sure. Here's a hand Wonka could open, but chooses not to. Interesting.
Guess he feels like he's too short.
Call.
Yeah. He's got the two biggest chip stacks behind him. Although,
Jeremy's stack has been cut down a
yeah,
bit
I guess
here.
it has.
Heads up.
Well, that's a flop that's supposed to have hit somebody a little bit, like a gut shot or something, usually, but doesn't, and they both
Zip.
check.
And Pip. Oh, there's a 5, though, for Ben. He's going to protect, it looks
Yeah,
like.
protect his equity, not expecting to get called by a worse hand, of course.
Nope, just go get the 180K out there instead of give a free card to Jeremy and be in a weird spot. He's seen that Jeremy's not taking shots, so there's
Right.
no point in bluff catching.
And Jeremy checked back very quickly, and that seems to be a tell that he's just done with the hand, not interested.
Yep. If Jeremy has a 6, Ben's going to lose 60K at some point in the hand anyway, so it doesn't matter. Jeremy's thinking about it. I'm not sure why. Maybe he's just, in the zone.
The auto zone.
And there he goes. Maybe he's thinking about making a move.
Would have been a very weird time to make a move on that board with
It would have worked, though.
the blind versus. Yeah, it would have, but
But yes, I agree.
that board hits a lot of stuff, and
Sure.
he doesn't block any of it.
Didn't even have a draw or anything.
Good job coughing right into the microphone there.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I like to share all with the people.
That's part of our brand.
Exactly.
If there's a fart, you'll hear it.
And you have. You all have.
I don't know if we've actually farted into the microphone before, but it's coming. Future episode.
That's going to really drive up viewership. All right, Shaun with ace queen. Here we go. He's got 16 blinds.
He could definitely shove here.
16.5 blinds. It's a little too much to shove, in my opinion, but he could shove.
It's not insane to shove, that's
It's
for sure.
certainly not insane. It's a little bit of a heavy shove, though. Meaning
It's
like a
fine
little
just
too
to
much.
open a normal size as well.
I like opening normal size with the plan of not folding.
Raise.
The thing that kind of sucks about opening a normal size is if somebody decides to shove a hand like King Jack behind you that would have folded, then you end up in a spot where you're calling off, and you could have just had, like, your fold equity is worth more than your equity against King Jack in that spot.
That is true-ish, but, you know, you're picking a particular hand. Like, how about Ace Jack? We kind of like that, and Ace 10. And
That's
other
those
stuff.
are also fair, and it looks
Yeah.
like we're gonna get action from Ace 9 here from Ben, which I don't love that.
You love Ace 9 off cold calling more than anyone.
Out of the big blind, it's fine. I'm not a big fan on the button. I think it's a razor fold spot.
Kyle throws away the Jack 10 off.
Oh man, he's getting a good price.
Incredible price in closing the action, but he's just hoping someone busts on this hand. He can ladder up, I guess. Well, it could happen, although Ben is.
I mean,
it's
ace-
unlikely. It's pretty unlikely.
You need an Ace 9 flop.
Yeah, probably.
Oh well, there's
There's
a
the
9. It is a miracle
9.
flop for Ben, and Shaun moves all in.
Oh no, and Ben insta calls.
For more than pot. Ooh.
Wow.
I don't know exactly what Shaun is trying to
I
accomplish
don't
there.
like that.
He's just trying to protect his ace high equity, I suppose, but
If he's going to play it that way, I prefer just to shove pre.
I agree.
Well, he's got 3 outs once. All of them are alive. And that's the
But
end
that's
of
the
that.
end of Shaun.
Well, Kyle got to save his chips, and there you go. You see Shaun locks up to 6,000, and he's gone. Everyone else all the way up to 7,700, but still so much to be won.
So weird that that's $1,600
And Ben now is the massive chip leader.
because he's gone.
Indeed. I don't know about massive, but he's got a lot of chips.
He's
compared
got
to everyone else.
he's got significantly more chips. I think he's got at least twice second place, would be my guess.
Oh yeah.
Can we get Deborah? Can we get that on the? No,
Deb-
no.
it would
She's
be great if we could. She's
she's-
eating. She's
yeah.
eating.
She's giving me the finger.
Oh, hey!
okay.
Good job. And in fact, you're right. Wow.
I do go away if he shows.
He actually has almost half the chips in play.
I was just on the button. It's not that much.
You see Wonka with the 16 blinds is the smallest stack, but 16 blinds is pretty playable, especially when everyone else is this short. Wonka can totally make this work.
Fold.
It's a very playable hand for Jeremy, but he elects not to.
He could. I mean, people could be min opening at this stage of the tournament. I think it's fine to min open. I know you don't like it,
I
Jonathan.
like a little more, but whatever.
But I think when stack depths average out like this, min opening is just as effective. Maybe there are very particular players who really are affected by 2.2 versus 2, but it shouldn't really make a big difference. And if you open a lot, like a guy like Ben, it makes difference over time to you in the times that other players wake up with hands.
Can we holler
If people aren't going to change how much they're folding. So here's Wonka with 15 blinds and Jack 10.
I think this is a pretty clear shove.
Yeah.
From what we've seen from Kyle, he's relatively passive. We saw him shove the ace small to big against Shaun and show the ace to the table. So mostly Kyle is going to either have like a monster trap like aces, which is very rare, or a fold.
And he said, if this is a trap, I'm falling for it, just like before.
And this is just going to work.
Obviously,
And I think
Kyle's gonna
Wonka can
fold.
shove any two profitably here,
Yeah, I think you're right.
just because of what we've seen from Kyle. It's nice to wake up with a hand as good as Jack 10, where you're usually going to have some hope against most hands that decide to call.
Yeah, like if he has ace king, you're actually doing all right.
Yeah.
If he has 2 9s, you're flipping.
Yep. I would guess Kyle's shoving both those hands.
Me too.
Like I'm thinking the hands that he's trapping, if he's trapping
Like
any, are like
kings and
the
aces.
really, really big ones. And
Yeah.
maybe you're not doing so well against those.
Not great.
But that's okay. There's only 12 combos of those.
Well, I mean, queens. Queens don't count.
He's shoving queens, is what I'm saying.
Oh. Well, that's true. There's only 12 combos. You can probably, like you said, shove profitably anything. You don't have to look. All right. Here we go. We're four-handed. Amarillo Jeremy did realize it's his turn to act.
Asleep at the wheel.
He's got a whole bracelet game going there, I see.
Well, everybody's got the mandatory bracelet.
But what about the other thing on his other wrist?
I don't know if I would call it a whole bracelet game. Like I
he's
think
got
I think Ben has a whole tattoo game
Yeah,
for sure.
I think so. Jeremy is opening the ace-2 soft. I like that in
Yeah.
this spot for sure.
I like it a lot.
These kinds of spots just call for aggression.
Wonka's got a whole game.
And Jeremy's already folded.
So is Ben.
Easy pickup for...
You mean Jeremy?
Oh, yeah.
Jeremy hasn't folded. He mucked his cards after everybody else mucked his
Yeah,
cards.
I was
Is that what you
thinking.
meant?
I said Jeremy when I met Ben. I want Ben's name to be Jeremy, and I want Jeremy's name to be something else entirely. Is that weird? You're
no,
looking
I
at me
think-
like I'm crazy.
No, I think that it's just such a good point that it's taking me a while to process it.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that.
Who do you think would be more offended by being confused for the other, Jeremy or Ben?
That is a great question.
What about your honey bunny, Sam? She ever deal anymore?
Minimally.
Okay.
She deals with a little kid.
Very, I think, clear open here for Kyle. 22 Broadway should be no doubt about it open from the cutoff.
Yeah, seems pretty obvious. And I like him in open. But Kyle hasn't been playing that many hands, so a little bit more is fine, I guess.
Raise.
Looks like 160.
160.
Wonka's already out of there. Ben with the ace-3. Small blind's kind of an awkward spot here. Gonna let it go.
Yeah. Jeremy lets it go, and we move on. We roll on.
You know when you're in a spot like this at a final table where every pot is so important, it feels so good when they all fold. When you
I
have like a
know.
hand like Queen 10 off and you open, you're just like, oh my god, the chips. I love these chips.
So great.
Yeah.
And conversely, when it feels like people are like coming after you a little bit and willing to 3-bet you a lot. And you're
Yeah,
just
if you
like,
get 3-bet
"Ugh."
twice in a row, you're just like, I hate this final table so
Yeah.
much. Even if they had it, and usually they did have it, right? Like most of the time.
Usually. Wonka under the gun. Whole lot of nothing. All right, so last time Ben was opening any two. This time he has a real hand.
I mean, this is an obvious open, clearly.
Raise. 145.
Still probably folding to a shove, but a good hand all the same. See, I don't expect Kyle's going to defend, but this is a defend.
Yeah, it should be a defend.
85 to win 295.
But he lets
It's a
it go.
defend. But
That's-
he was also dominated, and he gets to stay out of trouble.
True, but that's why Ben can open 8-3.
Right. That's
Because
right.
Kyle's not defending enough, and Jeremy's
Right.
not 3-betting out of the small blind at all. I don't know what Jeremy would do with ace-deuce there, but I would expect it's not 3-bet.
I think you're probably right.
It's a pretty beautiful spot for Ben with Wonka on his right and the passive players on his left.
Yep. He's got the best seat in the house and the most chips. Wonka has the worst seat in the house with Ben directly after him.
Probably not going to be opening this one
No.
on Wonka's big blind.
He has not been opening light in this spot. Jeremy with ducks.
Quack, quack.
Little turducken action here.
Turducken.
Yeah.
I feel like Turducken is like an Omaha hand. It needs more than 2 cards.
Raise. 165.
It's like
What would a turducken be, though?
deuce, deuce, and then you got to figure out what makes sense for the other 2 cards.
Well, yeah, thank you. Thank you for filling that out. That was that's what I'm asking you.
I'm trying to think about it, okay? It looks like this is just going to get through.
Yeah. Wonka
So
folds.
turd. So what are bad cards to have with 2 deuces in Omaha? Deuce,
Like,
deuce.
An 8 is a pretty
8,
bad card. And then, give it a
8.
big card.
Deuce,
no.
deuce, 8, 8.
No. Deuce, deuce, 8, queen.
Deuce, deuce, 8,
Or 8
queen.
king. 8 king is even worse. Can't make it straight.
All right, deuce, deuce, 8, king is a turducken.
Rainbow.
You guys now have just heard.
Congratulations.
You've heard the first time that's been used, probably,
For sure.
to describe deuce, deuce, 8, king
I mean,
in Omaha.
wouldn't that be crazy if someone else called that turducken already? I'm going to say it hasn't happened. Literally, the humans have existed in the world for so long, and so many people have said so many words, and yet that sequence of words has never been spoken before in the history of man. I'm saying it.
Well, you can't be sure.
I just said it, and I am sure. Here's Amarillo Jeremy.
You are sure.
Yeah.
Okay. It seems like a dumb thing to say, but I'll let it go.
Did you let it go? It didn't sound like you let it
No,
go.
and Kyle somehow folds. Somehow he folds the king 4 suited when Wonka has 9s, and let's see if Wonka limps and tries to employ that strategy we were talking about.
Yeah, if he's limping this time, he's going to be limping to shove or limping to call it off, of course. If he does that, and he is limping.
He does limp, and Ben's got a hand that he could
Oh.
definitely raise or shove with, and Wonka is going to have his way.
Oh, but he
no,
doesn't.
somehow Ben
How does he
checks it back with the
know?
king 6 when he raised the jack 10.
That's crazy. This feels like such an easy
That-
easy raise.
That's
there.
very unlucky for Wonka.
Perfect for Ben. And Ben does flop a 6,
He
though.
picks up a little bit, so Wonka should be able to make a little bit of money. He probably should bet this flop.
Yeah.
It would suck if he got shoved on, but I think betting is the right move.
Yeah, one thing at a time, I think, from Wonka's point of view. He
Ben,
bets.
of course, cannot fold.
Yep. Wonka may be able to get 2 streets of value here when all is said and done, depending on how the board runs out.
He doesn't want to see a 6 or a 5. Those are the cards he really doesn't want to see
Agreed.
when Ben calls here.
Turns out he does not want to see that card
Wow.
either. That is a really bad card.
Seems like a pretty clear check and figure it out spot
At
for
least
Wonka.
it's an overcard for Wonka, right? So that's the good news.
I mean, the only kings Ben has are king 6 and king 5, right? You would
Yeah.
expect king jack would have been a raised pre-flop.
Agreed. That's true.
There's no flush draw that could go with a king.
He might even just assume almost all kings are a raised pre-flop
Yeah.
either way, so he may think a king is just not part of it. Turns out it is.
That is why I guess he's contemplating a bet here.
Ben still can have a jack, of course, which is a little problematic.
Right, and he might fold 5s and 6s, which means
This
he
feels like a
shouldn't
check.
bet. It does.
Check, figure it out spot. You may have to let it go depending on how he sizes. It's obviously okay to call on the
He
turn.
is going to bet. It really looks
Well-
like he's going to bet. It looks like 200 in his hand there.
Bet 175.
All in.
And Ben moves in. It's very reasonable.
Weirdly enough, I think my plan was to go with this.
All right. That's sweet.
Not sure if I should or not.
Do you want my advice?
What do you think?
I think you should trust your gut and always follow your dreams, and if you believe, you'll win.
Okay, that's fair.
You think I'm talking him in or out of a call right now, Sam?
I think you get more 5s or 6s usually. You might just have me though.
Probably.
God, the whole plan was to bet little.
I'm really good.
Get you
I mean,
to
let's
shove.
just be honest. I'm really good. You're probably gonna put your money in behind here. It's fine. It's fine.
From behind, I'm really behind.
It's true.
It's possible. Also, it's just pocket. We'll see.
I'm bored.
I'm asleep.
I call.
He does call.
Wow, he makes the call. I don't know if Ben talked him into it or that was the plan all along.
Doesn't make sense.
That's right. You'll probably catch this 9.
Probably not.
Kings up is the hand that makes the most sense, and that's what Ben happens to have.
Yeah.
23 times. He's sitting
And Wonka is down to just a hope right here.
The 9 of hearts and the 9 of spades. That's it. It does
Oh,
not
very
come.
close. It's the 8 of hearts, and Wonka's going to be eliminated. There it is, 7,700.
Want to ICM it?
I'll be happy to look at the numbers.
Okay, so we got to count.
I'm tired as shit.
Yeah.
Me
not
too.
25. Did you say you've been up for 24 hours now, too?
Almost.
So as soon as Wonka busted, they're starting to talk about a deal because he was the one who had refused a deal initially.
Right.
And it sounds like they're going to get some numbers.
My dog's little. Can we do that, Brian? Can we look at numbers?
So as they do that, we can see that Ben has accumulated the most chips by far here and has the most chips by
Wow.
far.
Wow, does he have a lot of chips?
Does it show that I'm
Whatever-
first in chips or second in chips?
Whatever numbers they look at, Ben's going to be getting the lion's share of the money.
Now, this is actually an important part of tournament poker when you're negotiating these spots.
I got 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, sometimes people are so concerned with making sure they lock in their expected value that they want to give up some of that expected
Certainly.
value.
And I've been in spots like Ben's many times in tournaments and gotten more than my even equity chop numbers because other players were afraid of giving up the money between third and second.
You were in a tournament once where they gave you more than first.
Yep.
That is the craziest
I
thing
got
I've
more
ever
than
heard.
first. I had a massive chip lead. I had like 80% of the chips in play.
So
but,
what?
but each other player decided like they were so keen on locking up better than third place money that I got like 12% more than first place
It
money.
doesn't make any sense to me how that could ever first place money should be more than enough for you no matter what.
I didn't throw it out, by the way. They offered it.
I know. That's even crazier.
Yeah.
1.25. This is
12% more than first. What kind of world is this?
It was a small tournament. To be
I don't
clear.
care.
And
So they're just verifying the stacks here so they can make sure when they put it into the software, they get the right numbers spitting back out so they can decide if they want to make a deal.
Here's another tip when you're in Ben's spot. They immediately went to ICM. If I were Ben, I would ask to look at equity numbers first because that's always better for the big stack.
Yeah.
And if the other players don't really think about it too much, you end up with more money in the end. It's powerful to always try to negotiate your way to more money in these spots.
Absolutely.
1.55.
2, 3. No, 1. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, 155.
1.55.
Kyle just lost 200,000 since he's been at this final table, but he looks like he's in for a pretty good payday
Yep.
at this point. It was, 5,000 for 6th place.
Turns out the
He's
software
locked up
was
10.
wrong, by the way, and Ben does not have 4.3 as 3.7.
Oh, okay.
Changes the numbers a little bit.
Yeah.
You ready for the Wood Series? Dealing.
It's always nice when you're waiting for ICM numbers and you know they're going to be big numbers, and you're like, maybe I'll take it, maybe I won't, but I like to hear the numbers that I
Yeah.
might take home today.
It's a straight chip chop.
ICM.
Oh, he gets more than first if we go straight.
13,076, 13,718, 12,964.
That's the ICM?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm good with it. You
You
good
got
with that?
15, I got 12, he got
Yeah,
17.
well, you get almost 13.
You get 12,964.
What's
I
mine
get high
round up
13s,
to?
you
So
get
we
low
can round him to 13 out of mine. So you'll be 13 even. I'll round you up.
You'll still be a little over 17,000.
Yeah.
And I get 13 and change.
That was very generous of Ben.
Yeah. I mean, it's only, $36.
Still,
Giving you to round up to 13.
it's nice. And
And
there it is.
We have a deal.
And that is going to do it.
Ben, the big winner, with Kyle and Emerald Jeremy doing quite well, as you can see.
Here's the final numbers.
Nice for a day's work on a $400 buy-in.
Yeah, for sure. Great job, guys.
Congratulations to these players, and hopefully we'll be doing this again sometime soon.